Well, Victorian Premier Jacinta Allan has decided something needs to be done about anti-Semitism. Who knew? It's just a pity a synagogue had to be firebombed before she found her voice.
It's really about providing people of faith, doesn't matter who you pray to, what place of worship you attend. It really is saying to people of faith that you have every right to attend your place of worship in a safe way.
Well, I suppose it's better late than never, right? Joining me on the panel is Sky News contributor Rocco Loiacono and libertarian commentator Kristen Abraham. This ban on protesting outside places of worship, Rocco, as well as banning terrorist flags and symbols in public and face coverings at protests, it's a good move, but it begs the question, why was this not done months ago?
Well, James, it should have been done after October the 9th last year of what happened at the Sydney Opera House. I mean, for the last 14 months, we've seen cities disrupted and shut down. We haven't had hate preachers deported. And compare that to what happened during COVID when peaceful protesters were shot at with rubber bullets, pregnant women were arrested in their own homes, grandmothers harassed and mentally ill men smashed to the ground by the Victoria Police. Not only is it too little too late, but it exhibits the usual double standards that we've come to expect from the Victorian government.
Yeah, well, I love how Victoria's seen some of the worst, most violent, most aggressive pro-Palestinian protests, yet it's taken until now, as I said, after a synagogue was burnt down in a terrorist attack, for Jacinta Allan to acknowledge what we've been saying for more than a year. Have a listen.
Anti-Semitism is a cancer. Anti-Semitism is a cancer, and we must leave no stone unturned to fight the evil of anti-Semitism, to fight the evil of this racism and hate in all of its forms, and also continue to work to help heal our multicultural community.
Like I said, we've been saying that for more than a year. Opposition leader Peter Dutton is right, in my opinion, when he had this to say earlier today.
I just can't understand why it's taken the Allan government so long to react to the reasonable requests, particularly of Jewish Australians who have been treated in the most deplorable way. The Premier of Victoria says that she needs to do something about it. Well, of course she does, and she should have done it 14 months ago.
Yeah, it does make you curious, doesn't it, Kristen? Why has it taken so long for, I mean, Labor federally have been terrible, and we know they've got their eye on Western Sydney seats. It's all very political. What's going on in Victoria? Why has the Premier taken so long to address this?
What's not going on in Victoria, James? It's just,
fair point.
It's a circus around here. But in terms of what they're proposing at the moment, all I can really think of is there already laws on firebombing places? Is there already laws on, doing no harm to others? And aren't there laws that they can be enforcing? The other gentleman did say that there was peaceful protests in the pandemic and they shot rubber bullets at Victorians. So how about they enforce the laws that are already there, rather than proposing a legislation that is potentially going to further impeach civil liberties, which we have a massive problem with here in Victoria?
Well, you know, the other irony is it was back in, I think, 2015 that Dan Andrews got rid of the ability for police to move people on if they were creating a problem. And then when that was tried to be brought back by the coalition in 2019, the Labor government opposed that. So like you said, they've had laws in place that they could have used but haven't, or that they got rid of. Now they're acting like they've come in to save the day with all these new laws.
It's just ridiculous that the Allan government thinks that they can just wash out this new law and think that they're going to fix an institutionalised problem. How about they stand up for the uni students that felt the racism and religious hatred that was going on? How about they stand up for the Jewish community and actually show some leadership? But they just refuse to do that, and all they think is they can just push out new laws to save the problem.
Well, I've spoken many times throughout this year about Labor's inability to accept blame. They blame everyone but themselves, and it seems that goes for state Labor too. Have a listen to this comment from Jacinta Allan, which had me shaking my head.
And what every community of faith and culture, indeed what every Victorian and Australian deserves, are leaders who lead without politics on this matter. We have just seen too many politicians, Liberal politicians, Greens political politicians, who have chosen to use a humanitarian crisis conflict as a cause for political division in our community. And I find that utterly unacceptable. Utterly unacceptable.
Rocco, can you believe this? You know, we don't want politicians using this issue politically. The Greens, the Liberals. Is she missing anybody?
Oh, I thought it was Hamas who invaded Israel and raped women and murdered babies. And yet the Labor Party and their fellow travellers, the Greens, are the ones who have to be dragged kicking and screaming to this point. I mean, you mentioned Western Sydney seats earlier. I mean, this is the thing. The Labor Party has been trying to tiptoe around, not actually condemn the perpetrators of any of these terrorist attacks for fear of engaging in some kind of false notion of Islamophobia. And look, what we saw in the synagogue attack the other day with Bishop Mari Emanuel being stabbed earlier on this year, this is what happens when you have a very liberal, lax immigration policy, when you allow too many people in who aren't willing to accept the values that a liberal democratic society must live under. And this is what's happening in Europe. And when we see in France, which has had a similar kind of lax immigration policy, churches there are attacked on a monthly basis. So this has been imported. And now these people are saying, oh, it's being politicised.